Hello, my name is Reni Sentana-Ries. Today is the 1st of December in 2016. For nearly 20 years since the inception of the Internet, I have identified myself as authoritative to the issue of finance, and this in connection with the intent to not reform the system under which the people of this planet function as being subjected to the yoke of finance, but with the aim of seeing a complete removal of any system of finance whatsoever, and this position I take by the authority of an office I hold, which is recognized by all high councils of this universe. That office is no threat to anyone. It only deals with the issue of restoring a paradise to all people, which was lost many thousands of years ago. Therefore I urge no listener of my words to become offended or threatened from an implementation of the thoughts I put forth, as they focus on one thing only, and that is to give back to the people that which was lost eons ago, namely an environment conducive to the bliss of all people, a new surrounding, which I have called in my writings a paradise, howbeit one in level at the lowest rung of the ladder of paradise. The essays which follow were all posted in discussion forums of Arabia.com and Baladna.com and also placed on our own websites at the turn of the century. We offer these audio files as a free gift under the Creative Fair Use copyright rules. The text in spoken words may therefore be freely copied, distributed, and stored in any electronic format, provided no text is altered, and the author's name is not removed from quotations of any length. All commercial copyrights are reserved by the publisher. And now we come to the beginning of the articles posted on the 16th of May in 1999. I have slightly modified the title of the set, calling it, IMF and World Bank International Financiers Are Sorely Mistaken. I also have on occasion slightly modified the wording in order to improve on the style of the text presented here. Quote. Under this heading we will go back to basics. We will learn like children the ABC of money and perhaps then understand better the immensity of the monster the world has fallen victim to. Some nations are desperately looking for their way out of a fix the banker has manipulated them into, and if they only could unite in confronting the handful of international bankers and cease kowtowing to this imaginary phenomenon of international community, whatever that is, then we will be that much closer to a resolution of national problems pertaining to finance. With proper analysis of the problem the solution becomes self-evident. Of course I invite your input presented in a manner worthy of an intellectual debate. However, do not become alarmed if my postings are of unorthodox content and sharp as a razor blade. So let the fun begin. Reni Sentana-Ries. Headline: Let's begin with Iraq and her possibilities. Iraq: there are problems you can solve on your own without dependence from outside supply of commodities or finance. Take stock of all of your resources in terms of natural resources in the form of oil, gas, copper, gold, uranium, aluminum, minerals, etc. Then take stock of potential for self-sufficiency in the area of food supplies for all your people. Ask yourself whether there is potential for greater production, irrespective of financial resources, please. Is there dormant arable land? Are there people unemployed who could be farmers? Examine your labor pool resource, not only from the viewpoint of people willing to work, but identify them as to their expertise, i.e. engineering, science, leadership qualities, pharmaceutics, or what have you, and identify the nation's needs for services in those areas. Direct the nation's people resource toward the filling of the nation's greatest needs. If it is food supply you need, then exploit all arable land for the purpose of growing food, using your labor pool resource. If the nation has need for pumps or electric motors to keep the oil flowing, then extract the people's resources and know how to make those items inside Iraq, using whatever industry is left to do so. Iraq: do not concern yourself with issues of money to bring about the things I have suggested. Your people will do everything that needs to be done within your borders for as long as they know they will have money-free access to all of their basic needs in terms of housing, food, transportation, clothing, and utilities. When these minimum requirements to the sustenance of life are provided for, your people will do everything else that is needed for the rebuilding of the country. Remember, Iraq, no one will ask for a paycheck when everything a paycheck buys will be provided just for the asking. No society needs money, the ants and the bees don't, and they do well, so tell your people that their production belongs to them as producers, free for the taking, and only then will they see themselves not left out from being beneficiaries of their own production. And how will you get there? Remove the money link between production and consumption, and you will soon become the economic envy of the world and the crowning jewel of humanity which you once were millennia ago in ancient Mesopotamia. Allah blesses you when you return to your own ancient roots of being what you are, an evolved people, and doing what you can do best, doing things right. Reni Sentana-Ries, posted May 16, 1999, 4:47 a.m., Jordan. Next headline, National Sovereignty, an essential element of nationhood. The time has come where, in view of much rhetoric from Trudeau, Bush, Kissinger, and others, individual nation-states not associated with the United States and Canada, have to make up their minds whether or not they wish to protect their national sovereignty from all efforts by the one-worlders, who wish to strip them of this once held sacred trust. Factors like international law, international community, New World Order, human rights, international court, and so on, are all issues on which national sovereignty is bargained away. The UN today uses human rights as an excuse to set aside the nation's sovereignty. That serves no nation any good. The advocates of a one-world society view national sovereignty with much scorn, for that placement of priority runs opposite to the elitist thinking of dominance over national governments. They find the issue of sovereignty repugnant to their view of how the world should be run by themselves. So if the national leaders wish to retain control over their national affairs, then it behooves them to unite as one against the foreign imposition of alien thinking coming from those elitists, who from behind the scenes endeavor to subject the nations under their despotic control. Democracy and international finance are their vehicles with which they impose their tyranny over nation-states. The efforts of dislodging national sovereignty are spearheaded by the United States and Britain, who are using the United Nations and in particular the UN Security Council to perpetuate this tyranny upon all nations. The plan here is to weaken individual governments with the adoption of a system of democracy, which scatters national governmental powers because of its fragmenting effect through the party system, which then in turn shifts power in favor of internationalism and its tyranny. The ill effects of internationalist control we see in the ill treatment of Iraq, Yugoslavia, Libya, Russia, Panama, Chile, Palestine, and others. Democracy is being hailed as the savior of the world, yet its true face is as ugly as sin. Look at Italy, for instance. Italy has for the last 50 years never seen a stable government, and her democracy will forever prevent this nation from running her internal affairs successfully, because her government is always kept weak. These internationalists think Western politicians are all stupid idiots, and they are right, because they do not even notice that they are being fooled and manipulated by a handful of powerful people from behind the scenes. I have noticed lately that certain Russian leaders wanted to take their financial affairs into their own hands but were successfully blackmailed by the international financial community, which detested the idea of a Russian-made solution to their financial woes. So, was Russia allowed her sovereign right to create and control her own currency? No. And here we have a case of what Russia was able to do on its own, without cost to their people, is now being done by the IMF international money machine, with cost to the government and the Russian people. And what is that cost? More national debt to international money men. And what is the element which kills the life of a nation? The nation's absence of sovereignty. End of Part 1. To be continued in Part 2, where the topics of discussion will be credit creation, hallmark of a sovereign nation, as well as look at the issue of how all this trouble began in the first place. Happy listening.